Orleans music. So in music, you have a note, and a group of notes is a chord, and the most basic chord is called a major chord. If you change one of these notes, it becomes a minor chord, and nobody knows why, but they've done this experiment with remote tribes in Papua New Guinea, in Africa, and they say, this experiment, which of these two chords sounds sad? This one or this one? Everybody universally acknowledges that this particular combination of notes, and no one knows why, it sounds melancholy. And this one doesn't. But if you play them both together, you get this. So it's either one or the other, generally speaking, because when you have this in music, that's called dissonance. And this is consonance. But the African contribution to melodic sensibilities, and I'm speaking very broad strokes, is that in the hands of a good musician, you can use both of those elements together, and with voice and horns and strings, you can bend a note. You can go do do. You could bend up, boom. You can't do that with the piano. If you play them both together, you get that, and it sounds unpleasant. If you do this, it happens very quickly. But it's almost like having a happy ending at the end of a story. It makes you feel good.
End of the story, folks.
And so that's just an answer to your question, what is it about the New Orleans piano? If I play, this is the most famous and basic New Orleans piano riff. It's like, listen to it. That's, you slow it right down. It goes by so quickly, you hardly even notice it. But it does something in people's brains, and it lifts you up. Something's wrong, now it's fixed. And that's like a metaphor for life, you know, everyone deals with on a day-to-day basis in the course of their life. But in New Orleans music, that's that whole story in a split second.
Music is medicine.
In some instances, you can. But music is much more complicated than that, obviously. And what's interesting is that you can actually have those two notes and separate them by an octave. And when you just play the two notes, they sound once again, very dissonant. That's not pleasing to anybody's ears. I mean, Thelonious Monk and Schoenberg, and those people have messed around with dissonance, and dissonance is an important part of music. But if you take those two notes and add these other ingredients, add these two notes, now you've got this chord. That's called a raised, musicians call that a raised 9 chord, but that's the... Really with music, with New Orleans music, it's a combination of playing dissonance with, as I say, playing with these elements, things that are funky. That's on the melodic side, and then playing funky on the percussive side. Funk, and funk is a word that was an adjective that was first used to describe music in New Orleans. Funk used to mean something that's funky, and it meant it smelled bad. It's like a pair of socks you didn't wear it for a few days too long.
Or the Maple Leaf Bar at 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah. New Orleans is funky. Just walk down Bourbon Street at 3 o'clock in the morning, it smells funky. Everybody understood what that word meant in the terms of a bad smell, but there was an instance in the recording studio in New Orleans where one cat wasn't quite getting it right, and then out of exasperation trying to find the words. Words are music exists in a realm beyond the limitations of language. But in this particular instance, he said, I don't know, man, just play it like it's funky. And he said, oh, you mean like this? He knew exactly what to do, and that's kind of what New Orleans musicians do. So, you know, people don't understand that actually funk is the ethnic folk music of the city of New Orleans.
The ethnic folk music of the city of New Orleans.
Funk.
Absolutely.
Because New Orleans musicians don't discriminate. One time I was sitting outside the mother-in-law lounge with Ernie Cado at about 2 o'clock in the morning. We both had little chairs pulled up. There was no one else in the bar, and we were just sitting there talking. car came past blasting out hip hop, like one of those huge speakers in the trunk. And he said, man, he said, these kids, they think that's new. He said, they've been doing that here for 100 years. Because the groove that was coming out was New Orleans funk, pure and simple. So the roots of New Orleans music, that doesn't mean it has to all be fast and funky or nasty or whatever. For example, just to go back to that, what I was talking about before, here's another instance where you can take two notes that are essentially out of tune here, for example. If you add these notes, there they are, just those two notes by themselves. Painful. I put them in this chord. And all of a sudden they're soft and beautiful. And so the exact opposite, really, of the same thing here. Dirty and nasty. Anyway, so those are the colors we play with. But at its root. So those are the tools that New Orleans musicians have been experimenting with for over 100 years.
Well, yeah, yes, absolutely.
And it was so cool and so hip that everybody else copied it. And all that stuff comes from New Orleans.
It is the root of all things musical. Well, you want to put it all together for us real quick and do a little tune?
All right. I'll just make something up.